Hello, my name is Liz and welcome to the Tiny Treatery. And today I have what is hopefully going to be a short, quick video for you because the recipe is super quick and easy. So I got this new device, a mandolin slicer, and I wanted to try it out for the first time on the channel for you guys. So we're mixing it up today, and instead of doing a dessert, we're doing a savory snack, and I'm gonna be making vegetable chips. You know those like bright, colorful, really yummy vegetable chips that you can buy at the store? The brand I know them as is Terra chips. I found a recipe online whose end result claims to be very similar to those. So hopefully that's what happens, but we'll see. I'll show the recipe on screen now with just the original yield because I'm not going to be tinifying it for this one, and I'll meet you in the kitchen. Welcome to the kitchen. So this recipe consists of beetroot, zucchini, carrot, sweet potato, and rutabaga, whatever that is. It says rutabaga or turnip. I don't know the difference, but I couldn't find turnip at the store, so I went with rutabaga, even though it looks really scary and disturbing. Turnips are generally white with a purple gradient toward the top, while rutabagas are yellow with a brown or purple-brown tinge toward the top. Flavor-wise, rutabagas are sweeter than turnips, which have a sharper flavor. Well, then maybe it's better that I went with the rutabaga. If it's a little sweeter, sounds kind of nice. First things first, let's get measuring. Alright, so to make them, all I have to do is use the mandolin slicer to slice them into thin slices, and then put them on a baking sheet, spritz them with a little bit of oil, put some seasoning on, and bake them. So I might as well introduce you to the mechanics of this slicer. So it comes with this, which you stab into the vegetable to run it along the slicer. And then for the actual slicer itself, there's a safety guard here that can be removed to expose the slicing blade. And then if you lift this panel up, you can see the different options for slicing. So according to the instructions, you can slice from paper thin to 9 millimeters by adjusting the rounded edge, or they have julienne slices that can either be 4.5 millimeters or 9 millimeter julienne slices. And I did not know what that was, but I looked it up, and I guess it's the French word for cutting things into thin strips. Then, if you lift this other panel, you can turn this knob and switch between the straight edge blade and the wavy blade for if you want to make waffle fries and stuff like that. But in my opinion, the most exciting component of this slicer is the safety gloves! Not Spawn. I'm like hyping this thing up so much, it seems like I'm sponsored, but obviously I literally am not. I do not have enough subscribers for that. But I was looking at a lot of slicers and a lot of people were posting some gruesome pics in the reviews. So when I saw this one came with gloves, I was like, it's a done deal. Even though when you use it, you do have this level of separation between the slicer and your fingers with this device, I just better safe than sorry. I love these gloves. So I guess all there is to do now is slice and bake the chips. Hopefully this goes okay. This will be my first time using a mandolin slicer. So let's get slicing. So here are all the sliced vegetables. Oh my God, that was really fun. I felt like a professional. I felt like a chef. I am mesmerized at how many chips those vegetables yielded. Like when I was looking at them on the plate, I was like, I'm gonna have like 5 chips and it's gonna be really depressing. This is gonna last me days probably. This is like a lot of chips. This is like party size. For a very long time, this was the only baking sheet I had. It's a quarter sheet. Not totally sure of the dimensions, but I think quarter sheets are like 9 by 13 inches. And then I got this little baby, which is certainly not going to be really helpful in this case. But for reasons totally unrelated to this video, I recently got 2 half-sheet baking pans. Honestly, I don't even know if these are going to be enough. I'm really glad I got these because if I was having to do batch after batch after batch with my little quarter sheet, I would probably just give up. So praise be, baby. So now I just have to spray these with a thin layer of oil, put all the chips on, spray them with a little bit of oil on top, but just a little bit because you don't want them to get too soggy, and then season them and bake them. So let's do that. I guess I should preheat first. They bake at 400 degrees for 20 minutes, and halfway through that, you flip them over, which like, what is the most efficient way to do that? Am I gonna have to go one by one with like a fork? Am I supposed to use a spatula? I don't really understand how people flip things when there's a lot of them when they're using a baking sheet, but maybe, okay. So cooking.stackexchange.com has 2 not very helpful answers. The first one is, if you are using a flat or low-rimmed baking sheet and have a second one the same size, I won't because I will probably need to use both of these. Oil the second sheet with only a very thin layer of oil. Take the first sheet outside, cover with the first, grasp, and then flip them so all the food falls onto the second one and bake on that sheet. Then someone else said, the most effective method is to simply not flip the items. Okay, thank you. They also said, if you absolutely cannot avoid it, use a spatula. I don't know about my spatula skills. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, let's put them on the baking sheet. Oopsie! I have what is hopefully going to be a short, quick video for you because the recipe is super quick and easy. So right now, the 6th batch of chips is in the oven, and I'm really struggling with this. After doing 6 batches of these, I've learned that there's a very particular sweet spot, and it partially has to do with how long you put them in the oven and also how much oil you put on them. If you put too much, they'll be soggy and floppy. If you don't put enough, I think it's okay, but you gotta be really careful because they could burn up like that, which is what happened to the second sweet potato batch. And I'm sick of doing this after 6 sheets, but I still have some beet slices and some sweet potato slices and a little bit of carrots left. So I think I'm gonna do an experiment and try to make some in the air fryer as well. I am so tired. I just wanted an easy, quick recipe. And I've spent hours on this labor-intensive project for a subpar result in a stinky, smoky apartment. Time for the taste test. I put all the best ones in this bowl because some of them are so burnt that they're probably like inedible. And then some of them, especially the beets, they're like floppy. They didn't turn into chips because they were too thick But the beets were the last ones I did, so I was getting really tired of it. It just smelled too much like smoke. I couldn't go on, but okay. So first, let's try the zucchini, I think. I don't know. These ones were weird because they're kind of like, I don't know, they were like the wettest of the vegetables. So they were like sticking to the pan really badly. And when I scraped them up, a lot of the times the middle would get stuck on the pan and not come up. And these are also pretty floppy. The ones that are crispy are just burnt. So no crunch. Rubbery, awful. Taste-wise, they're okay, because they just taste like, I don't know, burnt oil chips. But texture, and that's the most important part of this, was a flop. Do I need my mirror? I did have something stuck in there, so always remember to bring your mirror, kids. I guess I'll do a carrot next, because I'm not really excited about those either. They were, I don't know, a little crunchier, because they're so freaking small. No, these are definitely also rubbery. Did they get soggy in the time that it took me to do all this? Again, okay, flavor-wise, I guess, but texture is awful. Rutabaga. Ooh, this one's pretty crunchy, actually. It's got a huge, big burn mark in the middle of it. And this one that looks prettier is floppy, and it'd probably be rubbery. Ugh, gross. I don't even want to interact with that. That one had a little crunch, but ultimately at the end was still rubbery and also burn tasting. Ugh. Rutabaga tastes kind of like dirt, more than these other ones do. I'm not sure if I'm into it. It's okay. Not the biggest fan though. You just should not be chewing this long and having this experience when you're trying to eat chips. Ugh, okay. Sweet potato. That one was really good. Really good chip experience. Dang, sweet potatoes are going off. Wow. Still a little thick and a little stick in your teethy for a chip, but the best out of what we've had so far, both flavor and texture wise. Though I'm not sure if that's purely because of like the nature of the sweet potato and how it's harder and maybe has like less water probably than the zucchini. I mean, carrots are pretty hard, and the rutabaga was too. I think it was that they were one of the later ones, so by then I was like getting the hang of it a little more, but flavor wise even, they're just better. I just like them more. Beets. That was a perfect chip, texture-wise. A little burnt though, so flavor-wise, not great. Wow, they're like addictive. Wow. I have a lot of mixed emotions about this. Flavor-wise, I think I like that less than the sweet potatoes, but it's still pretty good, other than the burnt part. So now I have my little air fryer sample with carrot. More crunchy than what I got out of the carrots in the oven one. Still not perfect though. Sweet potato that's clearly been burnt. Good texture though. Should I eat? It's like totally black, but it's so satisfying. And one beet. Okay. Final thoughts. So I went into this taste test thinking that it was going to be a colossal failure and they were all going to be horrible because I could tell so many of them had a bad texture and it just was not great. The rutabaga and zucchini were like my first ones, and like the rutabaga, rubbery, zucchini, a bunch of them have holes in them and are burnt. And they were just very finicky. The zucchini were just, I had 2 trays of them, and even after learning a little, they just did not get any better. The carrots, those are also kind of mushy. But the beets and the sweet potatoes really like showed up and picked up the slack for all the other failures. Probably because they were later in the game and I learned more. Some of the beets are still floppy because by then I was tired of, I knew that these needed to be baked more, but I just didn't care and I just gave up. What I've learned is that it is possible to create a good chip experience that way. But you have to be careful. It's probably better to slice them as thin as you can, really, like really thin. Keep an eye on them. Don't put too much oil or they'll get soggy. And you gotta be really watchful to make sure they don't go past that sweet spot and just start crisping up and being burned and smoking up your whole house. The air fryer ones seem to turn out better texture-wise. Like all of them were perfect crunchy, but some of them were a little burned. But it's more tedious to do this in the air fryer, especially mine because it's so small and I can't fit that many in there. So I can only have like 7 chips if I do it that way. But yeah, so I guess this was more of a success than it seemed like it was gonna be, but it was less successful than my wide-eyed self at the beginning of this video was hoping it was gonna be. But you know, that's okay. At least I got to enjoy like 8 or 9 chips. But thanks for watching and subscribe for more baking adventures.